The ground trembled like an old diesel truck struggling uphill, and every dog in Pine Thicket, Arkansas started barking at once. Folks paused mid-conversation, mid-barbecue, mid-beer sip. Because in Pine Thicket, when the ground shakes, it usually means one of three things. Somebody's uncle blew up a propane tank again, a moonshine still caught fire, or, far less common, an alien drop pod just slammed into Earl McCaffrey's front yard. Earl was the first one outside, mainly because he was already sitting on his porch with his boots up, drinking sweet tea and praising the good Lord for whoever invented air conditioning. He squinted toward the dust cloud rising from the crater and muttered, "If that's the ravine yours again, I swear this time I'm shootin' first." But it wasn't the feds. Out of the smoking crater stepped three tall figures, metallic armor shimmering like chrome dipped in starlight. 6 glowing eyes each. Plasma rifles. Tactical gear that screamed highly trained, heavily armed, extremely dangerous. In other words, not from around here. Earl blinked once. Huh! Aliens! Again. A week ago, the town had spotted strange lights over the woods, but Pine Thicket had collectively decided to ignore it. In their experience, if strange things wanted attention, they would knock on the door like polite folks. These aliens did not knock. They marched forward in rigid formation, scanning the surroundings with humming devices. Their leader barked something in a clicking language that sounded like a cicada having a panic attack. Earl took a slow sip of his tea and waved lazily. "Y'all lost?" The aliens froze. 6 glowing eyes locked on him. Deep within their helmets, the translation processor hissed. "Hostile species detected. Capture priority high." Earl's eyebrow twitched. "Hostile?" He looked down at himself, shorts, tank top tee. "Buddy, I ain't been hostile since the last possum tried breaking into my pantry." The aliens didn't seem convinced. Their rifles hummed as they powered up. Which is when Earl sighed, reached under his rocking chair, and lifted his old hunting rifle, polished, clean, and loaded. "I was having a fine afternoon," he said, standing up with the slow, deliberate calm of a man who'd survived 3 marriages and 2 tornadoes. "Why y'all gotta ruin it?" Before the aliens could respond, a pickup truck bounced down the dirt road at full speed, fishtailing in the dust. It screeched to a stop beside Earl. The door flew open. Out jumped Tammy Jo, wearing camo shorts, a beer in one hand and a shotgun in the other. "Earl! Earl! I saw the crater! Are the lizard robot fellas back?" "Different ones," Earl said. "But these look a mite crankier." Tammy Jo pumped her shotgun with unnecessary enthusiasm. "Good. I've been bored." 2 more trucks rolled up behind her, carrying Bubba, Clint, Jr., and Old Man Ray, all armed, all curious, none remotely concerned. In Pine Thicket, danger ranked second to gossip in terms of entertainment. The aliens huddled together, their communications unit buzzing urgently. "Unexpected armed resistance. Species displays aggressive behavior. Reclassify threat level, extreme." Earl frowned. "Extreme? You ain't seen extreme till you've seen Tammy Jo on Black Friday." Tammy Jo lifted her beer in salute. "Damn right." The alien leader raised its weapon, the barrel glowing with unstable plasma energy. Earl raised a hand. "Now let's think about this. Y'all seem like the military type. We're the protect our yard type. There's room for conversation." The translator hissed. "Compliance not accepted. Prepare for submission." Earl exhaled slowly. "Well, hell. There goes my afternoon." Before anyone could react, the first alien fired, not a lethal shot, but a containment net glowing with electric current. It shot toward Earl at blinding speed. Earl simply stepped to the side, watching the net slam into his porch swing and instantly vaporize it. Tammy Jo gasped. "Earl! Your mama gave you that swing!" Earl's jaw clenched. "She sure did." Every redneck instinct in a 10-mile radius activated at once. Bubba cracked his knuckles. "Boys, I reckon they just declared war." The alien squad adjusted formation, unaware they had just triggered the most dangerous military force on Earth, angry Southerners with beer, guns, and personal grudges. "What's the plan?" Junior asked, already climbing onto the bed of his truck. Earl nodded toward the aliens. "Simple. Don't let 'em get comfortable." The aliens fired again, this time a volley of stunned pulses that lit up the yard like the 4th of July. Rednecks dove behind coolers, lawn chairs, and Earl's tractor. Plasma shots sizzled through the dirt. Earl ducked behind a tree stump and shouted, "Tammy Jo! Get my ammo bucket! The big one or the illegal one?" "The illegal one!" "Yeehaw!" she screamed, sprinting toward the shed. The aliens paused at the cry, confused. Their leader tilted its helmet. "Unknown battle shout detected." Meaning uncertain. Old Man Ray, lying flat behind the barbecue grill, hollered, "Means you're about to regret landing in Arkansas, son!" Another wave of plasma hit the grill, sending the smell of roasted metal through the air. The aliens advanced, confident in their superior firepower. The humans held positions, confident in absolutely nothing except stubbornness and bad decisions. The stakes settled like a storm cloud over the yard. Earl stood up from behind the stump, eyes narrowing. "You picked the wrong porch, boys." And Pine Thicket, population 412, average income, seasonal, prepared to remind the galaxy why Earth wasn't to be messed with. Tammy Jo burst out of Earl's shed carrying a metal bucket overflowing with ammunition, fireworks, and, God help everyone involved, a bundle of duct tape dynamite sticks Earl had labeled, "For emergencies only." She skidded across the gravel, boots kicking up dust, and yelled, "Earl! Which one you want first, the legal ammo or the don't ask questions ammo? Whichever one makes em reconsider life choices." Earl shouted over the sound of plasma bolts shredding his bird bath. The aliens tightened formation, their armor shifting into combat mode with a metallic snap. Energy shields flared around them in a bright blue shimmer. Their translator chirped, "Human resistance escalating beyond predicted parameters. Countermeasures advised." "Countermeasures?" Bubba repeated from behind the overturned cooler. "Counter this, you glow-stick-looking idiots!" He stood, fired his hunting rifle, and managed to hit the alien leader square in the chest, only for the bullet to flatten itself against the shield and fall harmlessly to the ground. The alien leader stared down at the dented bullet with visible confusion. "Projectile weapons detected. Ineffective." Bubba blinked. "Well, dang. They're wearing the devil's Kevlar." Earl snarled. "Shields, huh? Tammy Jo, hand me that thing we don't talk about." Tammy Jo paused. "The one we really don't talk about." "Yup." She grinned like someone who'd been waiting years to hear those words. From the bucket she pulled a long, ugly, hand-built contraption made of pipes, wiring, an old car battery, and what looked suspiciously like a repurposed microwave magnetron. The device hummed ominously, like a wasp nest full of angry robots. Clint gulped. "Earl, is that the railroad beam?" Earl lifted the monstrosity, the car battery cables crackling as they connected. "Closest thing to it. Built it to keep raccoons out of my tomatoes." Junior muttered. "You built an anti-raccoon death ray?" Earl shrugged. "Was a rough summer." Before they could argue the ethics of weaponizing farm equipment, Earl stepped into the open and fired the thing. A concentrated beam of sizzling, chaotic microwave energy blasted out, hitting the alien shields with a sound like a panicked toaster exploding. The aliens staggered. Their shields flickered. Their leader screeched in alarm. The translator chirped. "Unknown electromagnetic weapon detected. Shields destabilizing. Retreat recommended." The Rednecks didn't wait for them to finish. Tammy Jo unloaded a wave of shotgun blasts. Junior fired homemade slingshot rockets crafted from Roman candles and duct tape. Clint used a potato cannon loaded with frozen tater tots. Bubba's truck speakers kicked on at max volume, blasting country music loud enough to disorient anything with ears, possibly even without them. The aliens weren't prepared for any of it. Their formation crumbled as they scrambled for better positioning, stumbling back over Earl's decorative garden gnome. One alien tripped, falling flat on its armored face. Another fired wildly, accidentally hitting their own translator unit, causing sparks and a noise that can only be described as a robotic hiccup. "You see that?" Old Man Ray cackled from inside the grill carcass. "They ain't coordinated worth a hill o' beans." But as the fight escalated, the aliens adapted. Their armor brightened. Their movements sharpened. Their formation reassembled tighter and more precise. And with a synchronized pulse of their rifles, a shockwave burst outward, sending Earl, Tammy Jo, and Junior flying backward. They hit the dirt hard. Earl coughed, spit out a mouthful of dust, and wiped his face. "All right. They hit back harder than raccoons." The aliens advanced with renewed confidence. Their leader raised a hand, signaling for a wide-range stun sweep. Energy bubbled at the tips of their weapons. Tammy Jo sat up, dazed. "They're gonna carpet zap us." Junior scrambled for cover, tripping over a gallon of motor oil. "We're screwed." "Speak for yourself." Old Man Ray grunted. From behind the grill, he lifted something long, metal, and extremely illegal. "I got something from Nam I never returned." Clint squinted. "Ray, is that a flamethrower?" Ray gave a toothless grin. "Government shouldn't leave things unattended." The aliens hesitated as Ray stood up, tank strapped to his back, hose in hand. The translator flickered, sputtered, then translated in a terrified monotone. "Warning, unstable human detected." Ray pulled the trigger. A column of fire roared across the yard. Alien shields flared desperately to absorb the heat, and panic rippled through their ranks. Several stumbled backward, others trying to flank, but the constant blaze forced them into defensive positions. Earl slowly pushed himself to his feet. "All right," he growled, wiping a streak of soot from his cheek. "They wanna shoot? We shoot back. They wanna stun? We stun harder. They wanna threaten? Well, boys and girls, we're pine thicket. Threatening us is just poking a hornet nest with a stick." The aliens regrouped, their leader barking rapid commands. The rednecks rallied. Smoke rose. Dirt churned. Plasma bolts sizzled across Earl's ruined yard. And above it all, a strange, low hum began building, coming from the alien drop pod still embedded in the ground. Lights along its surface blinked faster. Panels shifted. Something inside was powering up. Tammy Jo saw it first. Earl? Their ship's waking up." The aliens noticed too, relief flashing through their body language. Earl tightened his grip on the death ray. "Great. Reinforcements." The second wave was coming. And Pine Thicket wasn't ready. A deep metallic roar rose from the crater, shaking gravel, wind chimes, and the collective courage of every sensible person in Pine Thicket, which, admittedly, wasn't many. A blinding column of blue light shot upward from the alien drop pod, spiraling into a storm of sparks. The ground quivered. Trees rattled. Birds evacuated the county. Tammy Jo shielded her face. "Oh, sweet mother of barbecue, that ain't just reinforcements. That's a whole damn platoon." She wasn't exaggerating. From the glowing column emerged 6 more armored soldiers, one after another, dropping into formation like metallic grasshoppers hopped up on caffeine and bad intentions. These ones were bigger, heavier, their armor darker, crackling with arcs of violet energy. The translator, glitchy but still working, announced, "Second assault unit deployed. Objective, complete domination." Junior gulped. "Domination? Of what? Earl's yard?" Bubba, gripping his rifle, muttered, "Well, they picked the wrong yard to dominate." As the second squad stepped forward, their weapons hummed with terrifying intensity. The first squad straightened, relieved reinforcements had arrived. Their leader stood tall, plasma rifle aimed at the redneck firing line. Earl exhaled. "Not fear, calculation. They're organized. They've got tech. They've got numbers." Tammy Jo smirked. "We got determination and a bucket full of explosives." "And questionable judgment," Clint added. Earl nodded. "Exactly." The aliens didn't wait. They opened fire in unison, a sweeping arc of plasma that shredded trees like paper. The Rednecks ducked, rolled, dove, slid behind anything larger than a milk crate, coolers, trucks, Earl's tractor, Ray's flaming grill corpse, even Junior's overturned lawn chair. The yard turned into a war zone. Ray's flamethrower tank hissed violently, punctured by a stray plasma bolt. Ray glanced down at the leak. Well, that's not ideal. Clint's eyes widened. Ray, you're about to cook yourself faster than a hot dog at the county fair. Ray ripped off the tank, tossed it toward the aliens, and dove behind the grill. Clear out! The aliens detected the incoming tank and scanned it. Too late. Boom! The explosion sent a burst of flaming debris across the yard, knocking one alien flat and sending another stumbling backward with its shield flickering dangerously. Tammy Jo cheered. Ray! That's the most useful thing you've done since '72. Ray grunted. Back then I was faster. But the second squad didn't flinch. They advanced. Not running. Marching. Precise. Unshaken. Earl saw it, the difference between the squads. The first was reconnaissance. The second? Pure offense. He tightened his grip on the death ray. All right. Time for Plan C. Junior blinked. What happened to Plan B? Plan B was Ray's tank blowing up. Junior nodded. Ah. Makes sense. The second squad raised their weapons for a full-power volley, one that would absolutely end the fight. Earl rushed forward. Cover me! He yelled. Tammy Jo didn't hesitate. She fired shell after shell, aiming at their feet, blasting dirt into the air. Bubba used his truck as a shield, driving it directly into the line of fire to buy Earl 3 precious seconds. Clint launched frozen tater tots from his potato cannon like a man possessed. But Earl wasn't charging the aliens. He was charging the drop pod. The closest alien noticed, screeching a warning. Human approaching command module! The entire second squad pivoted. Too late. Earl leaped into the crater, landing with a heavy grunt, gripping the sparking edges of the pod. Panels glowed. Circuits pulsed with alien light. The air buzzed like 1,000 angry wasps. Tammy Jo screamed. Earl! That thing'll fry you! Earl shouted back. Only if I let it. He slammed his hand onto the control console. It burned instantly, searing pain shooting up his arm. He gritted his teeth. Ow, yep, should've worn gloves. The alien console flickered under human interference. Symbols scrambled. Warnings blared in their cicada-like language. The second squad unleashed a barrage, shot after shot slamming into Earl's perimeter as he crouched behind the pod's plating. The ground around him sizzled and exploded. The translator crackled in panic. System override detected. Human breaching command core. Priority intercept. The alien leader shrieked an order. 3 soldiers broke formation and sprinted toward the crater. Tammy Jo saw them. Not on my watch! She grabbed the dynamite bundle from the ammo bucket, lit the fuse with Ray's still glowing grill, and hurled it like an Olympic champion. The dynamite didn't explode instantly, it bounced. Once. Twice. Right under the feet of the charging aliens. Boom. The explosion blew a geyser of dirt skyward. One alien was thrown clear out of the crater, landing on Earl's roof with a crunch that would haunt Earl's homeowner's insurance forever. Earl braced himself against the control panel as lights inside the pod went chaotic, flashing, dimming, rebooting, failing. It's working! He shouted, even though he had no idea if it actually was. The second squad descended into the crater, weapons blazing. Plasma tore the ground apart. Earl ducked. The pod screeched as though alive. Then, suddenly, everything went quiet. The drop pod shut down. Every light went dark. Every weapon on both squads flickered and powered off. Every alien froze. The translator sputtered once, then died. The entire battlefield held its breath. Bubba whispered, Earl, what did you just do? Earl panted, smoke rising off his shirt. I turned off their whole damn system. Silence. Then the aliens, angry, confused, now powerless, let out a collective, furious hiss. Tammy Jo pumped her shotgun with a grin. Well, boys, now the fun part starts. The aliens, stripped of shields and weapons, backed away, realizing too late what humans were like without being outgunned. The climax hadn't ended. It had just begun. For a moment, the universe paused, the kind of silence right before a bull charges or a beer explodes from being shaken. 12 armored aliens stood weaponless, shieldless, and suddenly extremely aware they were surrounded by a species that willingly wrestled alligators for fun and used duct tape as a moral philosophy. Tammy Jo broke that silence with a wicked grin. All right, boys. They came here to dominate Earl's yard. Let's show 'em why that was their biggest mistake. The aliens bolted. Not marched. Not retreated. Bolted. Straight across the field, armor clanking chaotically, their perfectly disciplined formation collapsing into something that looked like a panicked parade of malfunctioning refrigerators. Bubba let out a war whoop so loud it echoed across 3 counties. They're running! Yeehaw, get 'em! Clint grabbed his potato cannon, loaded it with the last frozen tater tot, and fired. The projectile hit one alien square in the back, causing it to stumble face first into Earl's dried-up koi pond. Junior tore off after another alien, wielding a rake like a medieval spear. Get back here, you cosmic tin can! Ray, still smoking slightly from the flamethrower incident, hobbled forward waving a broken grill lid. I ain't finished with y'all! Come on! The aliens scrambled in every direction, their translator long dead but their panic universal. One alien tried to sprint toward the tree line, only to be cut off by Tammy Jo's pickup truck squealing around the corner like a NASCAR reject. She popped out the window holding a rope. Somebody grab that one! I'm feeling lasso-y! Another alien attempted to climb onto Bubba's truck, tripped, and slid down the windshield like a depressed penguin. Bubba grabbed it by the ankle and yanked it into the dirt with a triumphant yell. But the biggest alien, the hulking leader with the now dark plasma rifle, stood its ground. Not because of bravery, no, it seemed like its systems had locked up mid-panic, frozen in place like a glitchy action figure. Earl approached, soot-covered, arm burned, and still holding the half-melted death ray. He stared up at the towering alien. You came into my yard, Earl said, voice calm but carrying the weight of 1,000 bar-fight victories. Shot my birdbath, stepped on my tomatoes, and scared my chickens. He leaned in, face inches from the alien's blank visor. So tell me, was it worth it? The alien emitted a single terrified chirp. Earl nodded. Didn't think so. He turned back to the crew. Round 'em up! Within minutes, the Pine Thicket militia, also known as Earl's drinking buddies, had hog-tied 9 aliens with extension cords, fishing line, jump ropes, and in one case, Christmas lights. The aliens were lined up like overgrown metallic calves at a county fair. Tammy Jo leaned against her truck, wiping dirt from her forehead. So what do we do with them? Clint shrugged. Call the sheriff? Junior sputtered. Sheriff? You think he'd believe this? Last week he didn't believe me about the chupacabra behind the Waffle Hut. Earl cracked his knuckles. We don't need law enforcement. We need communication. He pointed at the drop pod, still dark and dead. Let's send 'em home. Bubba frowned. Earl, you know how to send a spaceship home? Earl grinned, grabbed a wrench, and marched toward the crater. No idea. But I've fixed tractors with less instruction. The rednecks worked together, Junior holding flashlights, Clint tightening bolts, Tammy Jo kicking anything that dared buzz, Ray offering unsolicited war advice, and Bubba banging on the side of the pod. Just to see if it'd help. Somehow, impossibly, miraculously, the drop pod powered up. Lights flickered. Systems rebooted. A low hum returned, now slow and weak, but stable. Earl stepped back. All right, y'all. Load 'em up. They dragged the aliens, still tied up like interstellar cattle, and piled them into the pod. The leader was shoved last, still whimpering with whatever dignity it had left. Tammy Jo leaned into the opening. Y'all remember something. Earth ain't the soft target you thought it was. Next time you land somewhere, maybe pick a yoga retreat or something. 'Cause you come back to Pine Thicket? She cracked a fresh shell into her shotgun. We finish what we started. The alien let out a tiny squeal that translated perfectly without needing a machine, pure fear. The pod doors closed. With a sputter, a roar, and a final belch of smoke, it blasted skyward, zigzagging wildly like even the ship itself was panicking. The rednecks watched it disappear into the clouds. Silence returned. The only sound was Earl's chicken clucking angrily at the destroyed yard. Ray stretched. Well, we win. Earl nodded. Yeah. We win. Bubba raised a beer. To Pine Thicket. And to whoever's dumb enough to invade us next. They clinked cans. Tammy Jo smirked. Think they'll come back? Earl spat into the dirt. Only if they enjoy humiliation. As they gathered around the remains of Earl's yard, laughing, bruised, proud, and already arguing about who really scared the aliens the most, the night settled gently around them. A small town. A mismatched group. A victory no one would believe. And somewhere across the stars, an entire alien fleet reconsidered visiting Earth ever again. If you enjoyed this wild HFY adventure, make sure to subscribe to the Void Narratives for more epic stories.